Hello, my name is Julie Miller, and I am here to talk to you about my creative writing class. Um, it is really more like a workshop, writing workshop, than a traditional classroom setting, or at least that's what I try to create as an environment. Students are here hopefully because they're interested in writing or already love to write and are perfecting their skills, trying out some new types of writing styles, writing in a variety of genres, learning new techniques. They can collaborate or work alone, whatever they prefer, and I am there to offer my guide and support and expertise along the way. I myself have a lifelong love of literature. I grew up with an author. My mom was a mystery writer, and then I worked in book publishing for about 20 years before I became a teacher, an English teacher. So it's kind of in my blood. And so I really enjoy this class, particularly because I get to really just share my love of writing and literature with people who are interested in it themselves. In creative writing, we do what you might expect to explore different genres of literature, both already written authors, skilled authors who are published, and of course, your students who are beginning to hone their craft as well. We use our imagination, of course, create projects that are pretty much self-driven and self-created, and celebrate what they do, what they finish. For instance, this year we started with fiction. We wrote a short story. Your students wrote a draft of an entire novel before winter break. Now we're doing some work with personal essays and other nonfiction writing. Talk about poetry and then write some poetry and then do some plays, drama, screenwriting, that sort of thing. I also like to, as much as possible, give students exposure to the experts, whether that be published authors or live, current, real-life Q&A sessions with authors. For instance, for the novel writing project, I had an author come virtually to talk to the students in a Zoom meeting about his novel process and how he creates his thrillers, and the students could ask him questions in real time, which I think is fun because it gives a much more immediate, you are there, here is a real writer type of perspective to the class. Of course, I give feedback as the students write. We mainly write on Google Docs, and the documents are shared with me. And I'm not hovering over the students, but I check in with them as they're writing and give some comments, feedback, cheer them on, that sort of thing. Next year, I'm hoping that we can take a field trip as well to somewhere in DC that's having a literary event. There are a few here and there. It's just an incredible area, and I'd like to get the students out in it to get some real life experience with some literary events. Like I said, it's all about using your imagination. One of the great things I tell students is it's a living, breathing organism, right? The story, it can change as you go. You might start out with your protagonist on Mars and decide that they need to jump back to Earth, and suddenly they're in Greenland. It doesn't matter. It's a draft, or it's a story you're experimenting with, or you might be trying out stream of consciousness, and then you decided to go back to traditional. It's all just a safe space to try out what you love. Yeah, you do create your own projects to a certain extent, because once the main outline, just the sort of rough plot diagram is set up, right, for your novel, for instance, you just go, right? There's lots of in-class writing time. You can get feedback from peers if that's your thing. If you prefer to work on your own, that is also just fine, as long as I can, be in there to kind of guide you a little bit along the way. Over here in the box, you see some of what we have already done this year. And later this year, my video box is covering it, but we'll be doing a poetry anthology and some playwriting or screenwriting. Of course, there are expectations in the class, but they're pretty basic, and it's really kind of based on trust, right? As long as you use your class time productively and you're actually writing your story or your screenplay or whatever it is that we're working on during class, and have a positive attitude, participate in the couple of class activities we have before writing time, you are good to go, right? It's really a time for you to be able to relax as a student and pursue something that you're really interested in. We play games. Here are some examples. Add a sentence, group stories get really goofy sometimes, and that's fun. Point of view switcheroos. Here's a story, tell it from the point of view of the cat. It might be, an example of something we might do, or just New York Times puzzles, mini puzzles, things like that. Writing races, and then of course days of celebration. When the novel writing project was done, for instance, we had a lot of a class dedicated to celebrating those novels because that's a big deal when someone writes a 10,000 word draft of a novel in a month. That's a lot and something to be really proud of. And so that's creative writing. If you have other questions, please feel free to email me right here. I know it says check out the student novel excerpts in the outside hallway. That was really for the students in school, but there are novel excerpts in my hallway if you'd ever like to come check them out. So thank you.